The new welterweight king has arrived, and his name is Islam Makhachev. Now he really surprised me with his performance. First of all, the level of strength he carried over to 170 is very impressive. Ended up even looking bigger than JDM on fight night. But what really stuck out was he had a beautiful game plan that he performed very, very well. He pretty much did it perfectly. He chopped up the lead leg whenever JDM was in southpaw, so he basically couldn't really flow. It just interrupted his rhythm because he loves to box with, stance switching combos. And he was doing the same thing that he was doing against Bilal for the takedown defense. At first he was trying to have the guard low, like his hands low, so he could have those underhooks and beat him to the takedowns. That's what worked against Bilal, right? But the thing was, every time he did that, along with ducking, he would duck his head down to basically use that as like a defense, like for the takedowns. So like if he tried to shoot a takedown, he would basically just run right into his head, like a headbutt or something. And yeah, he started whipping off head kicks. If you go and rewatch it, I was watching the Weasel's breakdown, and it was actually really cool to see the game plan work perfectly. So what that forced JDM to do, if someone's whipping high kicks like that, very fast and powerful, it's not like, oh, Bilal's throwing head kicks, someone who's not like really known for it or has the fastest or, craziest kicks ever. You could afford to do that more than likely. But somebody like Islam, he has a KO with, a head kick on Volkanovski. That's nothing to play with. So speaking of head kicks, of course, but yeah, that's basically, and that made JDM use his high guard. Now, every time he used the high guard and he would approach Islam, the thing with the high guard is it's just like Merab versus Petr Yan, right? Every time he would have the high guard after, let's say, Merab would throw a combo or blitz him, he would instantly beat him to the hips most of the time. So like if Islam's beating you to the hips and he's already like locking his hands together, man, you're getting taken down. Even if it's somebody less skillful than Islam, if someone's that deep on a takedown, they will definitely get that takedown more than likely. So, man, like I said, it was a flawless performance, I gotta say. And if my thoughts on the next fight, I really want to see Ilya versus Islam. If it has to be at 170, I mean, I'm all for it. At the end of the day, fans want to say he has to do more. Speaking of Ilya, right? But then the same fans were, annoyed or upset that we never got to see like a GSP versus Habib or, GSP versus Anderson Silva. I know they have more defenses in their respective divisions. But at the end of the day, if you want those fights to happen, you should not go against Islam versus Ilya. Because at 170, who else is really giving Islam any problems at all? I don't really see anybody else giving him a crazy challenge. Because we're talking maybe 1 to 2 more fights at best. Because he's probably going to do something similar to Habib where he's going to retire probably off another really big win or two. I'm pretty sure he has 2 more fights at best. So why not make one of those a super fight at the White House? Islam already said he wants to fight in the summer at the White House. I'm pretty sure that's when that card's happening, And Ilya's been waiting. Ilya's been more than likely waiting for the result of JDM versus Islam. It makes sense. Plus, also his brother was supposed to fight this year. I think he fights on, this week's card in Qatar. So they have a thing since they train each other and they're their main training partners. If Ilya has a fight, his brother won't take a fight. So he's not going to take a fight this year because, he was helping his brother prepare for his fight, which I love to see, man. It's loyalty. And what he just did at Charles, I mean, that shit is crazy. I don't really see anyone giving Ilya much of an issue. The one good matchup that I would like to see probably, if there was no super fight on the table, it's definitely him versus Arman. That's probably the best wrestler there at that division to really test Ilya there. But look at what Charles Oliveira just did to Mateus Gamrot. And then watch the Ilya versus Charles fight back. The fact that he handled Charles like that, got up, defended well, and ended up knocking him out. You know what I mean? So, and that's MMA match, sure, but I mean, it just speaks of the skill that Charles does have to control and wrestle, and he wasn't able to implement it against Ilia Topuria. It's just a different level of threat. So I would totally love to see Islam versus Ilya at that White House card. I'd say that's enough to headline the whole entire card. I would not trust Jon Jones with headlining the White House card because you just never know. He's always getting in trouble with something, always some controversy and things that are just not good for the company at all. And he disrespected the entire company and us fans, promising us a fight with Tom acting like it was Dana not paying up, and then out of nowhere he just vacates after like a lot of negotiating, and he held up Tom's career for like a year and some change, and he had to defend the interim belt. Really slowed down that heavyweight division significantly. So I don't mind him being on the card, but as far as him main eventing and having the whole card built around him, he does not deserve that. Ilya and Islam are way more deserving of fighters. Now he is a 2-weight division champ. I mean, of course he deserves to headline a card. And then you also have the chance of somebody becoming a triple division champion, which has never been done before. So that opportunity happens once in a decade maybe, or once every 2 decades. So I don't see the issue in booking that fight. Plus, there's so many contenders that could fight each other at welterweight. I would love to see Prates versus Morales, because Prates got slowed down by Gary, with a loss, and Morales is undefeated. He did beat number 2, so he's gonna be in the top 3 or 4 at the very least. I don't know if they'll give him number 2 exactly, and maybe they'll fight each other. You could just do a lot of different things with that division. So having Ilya versus Islam next summer, I don't think really halts the division too much, So yeah, man, Morales dominating Brady like that and just knocking him out. Prates KOing Leon Edwards. That card was crazy. Those first couple fights were just insane to see, man. Watching Leon get put out like that, it's crazy. But I told y'all in my breakdown in the UFC 322 video, I'm like, man, if ego gets involved and Leon starts, trying to ego with Carlos in his respective area, which is obviously striking, purely exchanging, he's gonna lose. The taunting and the talking from Carlos Prates got to Leon Edwards, and he started standing there too long, swapped stances, and that opened up, that rear cross that literally cracked him, immediately as soon as he switched to orthodox, because in southpaw it wasn't really finding its mark. If he would have stayed there and kept moving, he stopped moving, and that's your first line of defense in any striking. Your feet are going to be your first line, and he took that away from himself. He was moving backwards, but like I said, he was standing still too long, not circling and not doing what he was doing in round 1. If he was fighting that same fight in round 1, Prates would have got outpointed more than likely in round 2, especially if he was able to find a nice takedown of some kind, and then he could have just coasted round 3 and won. Like I said, some matchups, man, you have no choice, You can't try to be exciting and against a guy like Prates, and look what happened. He got slept. But it is what it is, though. I really don't know what's next for Leon. You could do Leon versus a Buckley or something. Buckley's a little lower in the rankings compared to some of the guys we were just talking about. And, he just lost to Usman. Usman's number 8, so, you could do something like that. Obviously not a Leon versus Usman 4 or something like that. I'm not interested in that. There's no point in doing that. But yeah, Prates is just eating up all this damage. This is why I've taken a big break from the game. I've honestly just been loving Battlefield 6, but Arc Raiders have really caught my attention. I mainly just be playing that. But man, I hope you guys enjoyed the Islam showcase, along with our opinions and breakdowns on the card, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay tuned.